Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. My guest, Montego Glover, is one of Broadway's favorites. You know her from such shows as her Tony-nominated and Drama Desk winning performance in Memphis, Les Mis, It Should Have Been You, Hamilton, and The Color Purple. Well, now she is back on Broadway in the hit revival of Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine's Into the Woods. She is sharing the role of the witch with current star Patina Miller. Patina will continue playing the witch for performances on Friday through Sunday, with Montego playing them on Tuesday through Thursday. Please say hello to my friend, Montego Glover.
Oh.
How are you?
I'm so good. It's great to see you.
I think I saw you 12 hours ago?
Exactly 12 hours ago. Yes.
So you and I were at the dedication of the James Earl Jones Theater. How incredible was that event yesterday?
It was so moving. My heart was so full. I literally had that moment of this is historic. This is happening in my lifetime. Once in my lifetime, I'm seeing this happen. It was beautiful. It's just in the theater is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the nice thing, what I love what the Schuberts did was there's that mug. Here we go. You have an Into the Woods mug, do you? And I love those mugs because they're really big, right?
Yeah,
they hold a lot. I have my BroadwayWorld mug.
Look at us. Look at us.
We'll hold our mugs up there. But going back to the theater, the Schubert organization has done such a beautiful job. Restoring the Court Theater to its original splendor, adding that beautiful annex, which highlights the theater so beautifully. You and I saw each other in the mezzanine upstairs, looking out of that glorious theater. But just that it was renamed and rechristened and dedicated James Earl Jones. It was just really heartfelt yesterday. It's so wonderful.
It was that countdown and the unveiling of the sign with his name and his image. It was like a breathtaking moment. Special.
Well, first of all, how are you and where are you? I see you got a plant behind you too.
A very luxurious plant. Yes, this is one of my many. I'm great. I am here in New York, of course. And I've been here, honestly, since the last time I saw you, holding it down in Brooklyn, and doing great. Busy as always, just trying to keep that work-life balance, together. You know how it is. Yeah.
Well, talking about work life, welcome back to Broadway as the witch in Into the Woods. What a way to return. How exciting is this?
It's wild. I saw the show a week before we announced that I was going to join the company because I just hadn't seen it yet. And I wanted an opportunity to really take it in before I needed to take it on, And I sat there, Richie, from the minute the curtain went up and the audience just poured excitement and love and appreciation and anticipation out of themselves and past those footlights and onto that deck. The company steps down and then the play starts, and it was just magic from beginning to end. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Okay, so you were playing the witch. Now, I remember I was at the opening night. I was on the carpet and I asked all the first nighters if you could play any role in Into the Woods. And I asked males, females, kids, adults, everybody. I said, if you could play one role in Into the Woods, what would it be? Yes. And I think the majority of everybody said, oh, the witch.
She's the witch. I tell you.
What's it like playing her?
You know what? It continues to unfold. I'm just a week into my time at Into the Woods, which feels like it feels like twice the amount of time and half the time at the same time. It's really crazy how time, I keep saying that word, how the continuum is doing this. It's exhilarating. It's like Red says, excited and scared, and I find that there is a real depth about her that I find really attractive and exhilarating. I'm enjoying digging into the depths of her motherhood, of her being as an entity in these woods, what she does, how she does, who she interacts with, what the curse is. When we meet her, this is a woman who's been cursed for a long time. And that's that's a peculiar place to meet someone for the first time, you know, inside of a thing they're raging against. She's exhilarating.
So I was going to ask you, because you're splitting the run with Bettina Miller, because I think Bettina's filming a TV series. So I think this is wonderful that you get to do the first half of the week while she's filming. You get to do these incredible performances, and she takes over for the weekend. And you know, so talk about your first performance on stage as the witch. Like, what do you remember about that first night on?
I'll tell you this. I remembered Places was called. I came down. This company, I mean, top to bottom, left to right, and all points around, warm, welcoming, kind for you, like thrilled to invite you into the family. It is a family across the board. So incredible. Coming downstairs and everyone's like, yeah, for myself and the other company members who were joining. And then the curtain comes up and there's the moment where we can just, you know, our new baker, our new baker's wife, our new Cindy, like everybody's there. And the audience just erupts. I remember that. I remember greens, those two words. And I remember children will listen. I remember saying those words for the first time on the stage after all that we had experienced, and remembering how true those words are. Careful the things you say, children will listen. Yeah.
Because what I love about this production is it starts, you all get to stand there and take in that first raw of all the applause before you start anything, which I think is so magical that you get that connection between all of you as performers matching with the audience and vice versa. This journey you're going to take them on, pardon my pun, into the woods. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's just a moment for us to acknowledge one another and take a breath collectively before we begin. And so I have to tell you, Richie, every single night before we begin, everyone is aligned. Everyone is ready, you know? And then we take the leap. And it doesn't stop until, you know, we've had happily ever after. And then what happens after ever after, right?
You know, what I love about this production is, I mean, I know people who are running back like every other week because there's always someone new going into this show. This is what's magical about this. There are so many people experiencing Into the Woods for the very first time with this brilliant production by director Lear DeVessinay, you know, and people coming back who were like, I love the show the first time around, but getting older or being parents or losing people. I mean, I've seen the show a few times and I see it in a totally different way. I loved it the first time, the original production, but you go back to this, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm older, I'm wiser, I've been through stuff. You look at the show in a totally different way.
Yes.
When were you first aware of Into the Woods? Was this a musical that was always on your radar?
Okay, get ready for the story. So when I was a wee lass in undergrad, we did, as all universities do, a production of Into the Woods. I was lucky enough to be cast. Would you like to guess who I played, Richie?
Wait, okay, Rapunzel or Cinderella? All right, wait a second. Not the mysterious man, did you? I'm trying to think when you said you think who I played. Who did you play?
Little Red Riding Hood.
No, perfect. I was going to throw that out too. Wow. All right.
So I got my first experience playing Little Red. It was so much fun. We had a great time. It was a great choice, obviously, for students, so on and so forth. Fast forward many, many years. I'm now living in New York, working as an actress, and I'm playing the witch. And I feel like I've grown up somehow, you know, I've grown into the role of the witch. So yes, that's my first foray into the wood.
All right, because Red is so sassy and everything. Like you said, you've got a full circle moment of going from Little Red to the witch.
The witch, yeah.
So what did you love the most about playing Red first? I mean, let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh. First of all, you know, just a little sassy, a little smart mouth, a little spunky, you know, which I always appreciated being able to dive into. What I do remember too, is that our designers wanted her to be just a little plump. And they really liked me for the role. The director really liked me for the role, but I was thin. you know? And so they were like, well, we'll cast her and we'll just put her in a little padding. So all the pictures from the production at school are like, you know, my little face and then this little, you know, padded out sort of extra round little body to make me, you know, full of sweets and bread.
Okay, so you went into the show with some other cast members the same night, right?
Yes, yes, we all opened on the same night.
So how many of you opened on the same night?
Myself, Andy Carl, Stephanie J. Block, Sebastian Arcelis, and Krista Rodriguez, and Katie Garrity, and Jim Stanek. Yes, all 7 of us opened on the same night. I know.
Does it make it easier, like a little less stressful, like there's a whole bunch of you going in on the same night as opposed to you just going in?
I think so. Ultimately, because we rehearsed together as well, I think there was a kind of safety in numbers and a safety in sort of taking the leap of the rehearsal process for Into the Woods Broadway, which is really compact. We were just able to be there for each other and know that we were all in the same boat, doing the same thing, trying to get to, you know, September 6th and be ready for it. It was the way theater is, the way the community is. It felt close and safe.
So what was it like being back in the rehearsal room again? Like that first day in rehearsal, like the read through, whatever, like what was that first day of rehearsal like for all of you?
It was excitement. It was old home week because, you know, I've known Andy, Stephanie, Sebastian for years, and we've never had a chance to work together. And now we were going to. And then I'm meeting new friends like Jim and Katie. Ann Harada is coming into the show, so she rehearsed with us as well. And then when it's time for her to enter in about 2 weeks or so, she'll come in. So we were like, oh my God, I haven't seen you forever. How have you been? It was just all of the catch up, and then the excitement of finally, we're going to get to work together, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the first time you saw yourself in the mirror, made up as the witch with wig and cape and staff and everything else you had. Like, what went through your mind?
Wow. Like, one, the beauty and the majesty of masks and mask work, how transformative that really is. And we've seen it used many, many times in the theater, many, many times on Broadway. But I, in a Broadway show, have never worn a mask. And so that was really something to see my face fully transformed just by the application of this thing. There's something about seeing yourself in a halo of gray, you know what I'm saying? And being like, wow, if I'm lucky enough to be like an older lady, maybe, you know what I'm saying? It's like a tiny window into the future. And then this cape, like thinking like how she, you know, this came onto the body, just sort of feeling that slow synthesis, that nice oil of what all this is and how it's grown out of her. And now I get to like be inside it. It felt like, wow, this is designed on me and for me, and I can see myself in it, but I can also see parts of me that I don't think I've ever touched on before. I'm excited to get into that, you know?
Okay, let's talk about this mask, because I've watched your Instagram where explain to people what had to be done. First of all, they cover you up like the mummy. I was like, whoa. So tell everybody what happened for that and what the day was like.
Yeah, it was a day. I went to Alcone Studios and they prep your hair because they're just literally going to make a full tilt plaster of your face, like down to your eyelashes, down to your brows, the hairs on your face, everything. So prep your hair, pull it back. And then this process of sort of like oiling your face. I believe it's called slugging, oiling your face. And then the wet mummy strips go on. It's just wetness wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped, holes made for you to breathe, and wrapped, and then plaster. And you feel the wet and you feel the strips, and then you start to feel the weight of it and it presses. I had so many people watch my Instagram and go, oh no, I can't do small spaces. I can't do the thing. How did you breathe? All caps. How did you breathe? You know, all that jazz. It was one of those things where you're either like, I'm okay, you just go to the Zen place, or you remember every molecule coming onto your face and you don't quite settle until it's all over. It was a solid hour to an hour and a half of just being inside it. And then it's time to take it off, which the process of that starts by you can't move at some point. And the process of taking it off begins by you expressing on your face. So suddenly you're like, and it starts to give and give and give, and then it's off, and then you look at it. And I had to put it on my Instagram and show you like literally this plaster of my face sitting next to the weirdest thing. It feels almost like a death mask, which I didn't really understand until I had that done. Now I get it.
No, but it's great though, because over the years, every movie star has had it done. I mean, there's, Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, there are these masses, everybody had it done. I'm sure it was even wilder then in the early days, but I thought to myself, it's just so cool. Like, Elphaba's a painted green.
Yes.
But like they go through that process. Now as the witch, you go through this like plaster mask of your face that has to be made, but it looks so cool too. And then when you see it all done up.
Yes. And it's, they take time to cut it to fit your face and your dimensions and then color match it. So, everyone who is in this role has, a perfectly matched mask that is made to look like your face your cursed face. Mm.
Well, I hope you get to keep that afterwards and you put it in a case when you come home. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, unless they keep it in you're like, oh my God, Montego's going to come back. So we better keep it. You know what I mean?
Put it in a bag.
Put it in a bag and take it home. I have no idea what happened to it, but you can put it into some case at home or whatever, a souvenir from Into the Woods. I was going to ask you, what is it like living in the world of Into the Woods? This is such a beautiful world that Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine has put together.
Yeah.
What's it like living in that world?
It's a place where there is, we call it a kind of fairy tale logic exists, where the most magical things can happen. It is equal parts light and dark, which I really love. I love that we don't shy away, Stephen and James did not shy away from darkness or death, or danger, but also, Cindy talks to birds and gets a magical dress and, which is transformed to their former selves, beautiful women. And it's, there's a truth that exists there, a kind of adventure and always movement. There, we talk a lot about how vast and deep the woods are. And every time you're out there, it calls forth something in you that is raw and real. What you're afraid of, what you seek, what's in your dreams, what you really want, what is your wish? It calls forth your wishes, your real wishes. There is something mysterious and exciting about the wood at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you get time to work with Lear de Bessonet, who is probably one of the greatest directors working in the theater? And I mean, what she has done with this production.
Yes, I did, and loved every single second of it. Anytime she's in the building, anytime I have an opportunity to talk with her or ask questions, and she's there and so open and insanely kind, warm, generous, and brilliant. Brilliant.
I just think she's unlocked something in this show that's never been unlocked before. I don't know what it is because all the other productions were brilliant, but there's just something about this. And let's just talk about the love of this show, generation after generation. You see it when you step on stage and you hear the roar of the crowd. I mean, what is it with this musical that is so beloved?
I think there's an accessibility, and the accessibility turns on a couple of things. One, we're talking about stories that we know. You know Jack and the Beanstalk, you know Cinderella, you know those stories. So there's a kind of common knowledge that we all have and come into the story, into the play with. And what's great about it is because we all know it, we can turn on it. You can twist it and turn it around, which is where Steve and James really win, because it's like a mashup of these fairy tales. One. Two, the way these stories are intertwined gives you information you already know, but also new information. So there's always something to learn. There's a safety in being like, oh, I know Jack and the Beanstalk, but also I didn't know he was going to run into Little Red Riding Hood, it's something to learn. And the third thing, I have to be honest, I feel like the world we live in now is so unsettling and can be so confusing. The words, the ideas, the poetry, the thoughts in Into the Woods are extraordinarily relevant. They're speaking to things that are on our minds and on our hearts and spirits right now. I think people really can draw a line between what's going on in the world of this play and what's going on in the world that they live in. And whether it's inside their homes or outside their homes or inside their relationships or so on or so forth is extremely accessible. And I don't mean that in a basic way. I mean that in an extremely real, raw, now way.
Yeah.
It's with us. Into the Woods is with us.
I love it. And then there's this beautiful score. Tell me what it is like singing those songs. I mean, you do Stay With Me, Last Midnight, Children Will Listen. I mean, let's talk about what is it like singing Sondheim?
I mean, from the first time, I think as a theater student, you sing Sondheim, you know that there's something special going on here. There's something in the way he puts words together and the way he arranges them on the staff. And it's always, I remember particularly as a student being like, wow, this is good music to learn on, to learn your facility, to learn your skill set. So there's that's always running, that motor that's always running with me. And as I continue to grow as an artist, now it's just like challenging in the best way, just wonderfully challenging and profoundly poetic. His lyrics are profoundly poetic and true. You know, he has a way of sort of stripping away any extraneous so that you can really see the center of the thought. And being able to perform this particular piece with our orchestra on stage, every morsel of that orchestration is available and steps away. It's all like, it's like wearing the most luxurious piece of clothing, you know, physically and orally, you know? Yeah. It envelops you.
Which song did you learn first and which was the hardest to learn?
Greens first. I started right away. Greens first. And the hardest one actually to learn were the finales of the show, because there are these lists, you know, to find, to heed, to grind, you know what I mean? Like it's the lists of things, all the verbs that we're going to do in the wood were the hardest ones to learn. And so it's just, you know, good old fashioned drilling, just drilling the list. Like get the words. Those were they. Yeah.
And the first time you sang Children Will Listen, like, did you get through the whole thing? Like, what was that like? I mean, talk about your musical director too.
Rob Berman, exquisite, kind, generous, just so present at that podium. And you can feel him connected to you. His back is to you most of the time, but you can feel him connected to you. And again, they're right there on the deck with us. So it just, no one is sent away, you know, when we're all in it together. Children Will Listen, the first time I sang it in the room, and then the first time I sang it in performance, I barely made it through without a complete like waterworks, you know, extravaganza, because I just was standing in a single space, having come through the whole journey of the show. Like the first time we ran through it in the room, and I got to put all the pieces together and start to really plot out the journey of the witch. I moved when you think about it in that play. And then you just, for me, it was like irising out to all the children in my life that I know and love, all the children around me that I see every day, strangers, you know, other people's kids and strollers and so on, and then children in the world, and just historically what that is. And the pièce de résistance, that we were all children once. We were all being told things and heard things and saw things and learned as a result how vulnerable and resilient and malleable we all are. We're the same, then we're different. Yeah.
It's just so brilliant. Now let's talk about backstage. What is backstage like? Like, now, do you like to arrive to the theater early? Well, you probably have a lot to do with The Witch. So like for this show, how early do you get to the theater before a performance?
With this show, I like to be in a good hour to hour 15 before curtain, just to settle, just to be sure that everything's where it needs to be. You know, if there are any questions, sometimes there's some technical stuff you need to sort of run through and make sure it's, you know, set up. And, you know, we have this the witch transforms. So I like to be sure that I, have run my portion of that very intense choreography to make that transformation happen in the right amount of time. But I'm generally an actress who likes to be there, in a soft cushion before curtain.
See, I love that, because some people tell me, oh no, I like to get there in a half hour. I'm like, how can you pull all this stuff in your head? But some people they like to do that. So they're like, my nerves don't kick in. I just get in there, I get dressed, and I go on. And other people are like, oh no, I like to get there early and prep. And so when it comes time to stand there, you're ready to go with nothing else in your head except the show and where you have to be.
Yes. Just the time to come through the stage door and sort of leave anything that's not needed inside that stage door, leave it out, and get there, settle, so that I can, carry my portion too. We're all so in it together. I want to be sure that I'm holding up my end of the bargain. I'm holding down my responsibilities in the show. It's very important to me to do that.
Yeah. There are people making their Broadway debuts and everything else in this show. I mean, it's just, Broadway debuts are really special. Yours was The Color Purple. In The Color Purple, you played 2 different roles, right? You made your debut with Celie and Nettie?
Yes, the original production. I joined the company as a standby for Celie and Nettie. Yes.
Who'd you go on for first?
Celie.
What was that like?
Surreal. It was surreal. I'll just never, ever forget it. I'll never forget it. In fact, the first time I went on, I thought, I'm not going to invite anybody. I don't know. It's my first Broadway show. It's my first time going on for this role. I've worked really hard. And I just should probably just do one, get it out of there for me. Da-da-da. And that thought, I remember this, gosh, it was years and years ago now, but that thought stayed in my brain for about 10 minutes. And then I was like, what are you doing? You've worked really hard. You should celebrate and share. So I invited everybody. I invited my reps. I invited my mom and dad. I invited my neighbors. I invited everybody to my first performance, my first time going on for Celie. And I have to tell you, the curtain rose and we started, and I was, wow. It was like roar and silence all at once, just like a really divine vibration, and we finished the play. And I'm standing, so fast forward, we finished the play, I'm standing behind the curtain and it rises and I look up, and the sound as I came down stage to take my bow. My first time on a Broadway stage, that role, that story, frankly, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Really special, just kindness, support, love.
Aren't you glad you invited everybody to that first performance?
Yes, because I truly almost didn't. And I'm really glad something inside me was like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. You move that other voice into the back of your head. You're like, get out there.
Get out of there. Take this leap. Invite everyone,
What a show to make your debut in, and what a role to make your debut. And boy, wow.
Yes. So many things. I told someone when I was, a kid in acting school, if you had said to me, so you're going to make your Broadway debut in The Color Purple musical, I would have said, well, that's ridiculous because it's not a play. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning book, la, 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 la. And it just goes to show you really don't know how your journey or how your life is going to unfold or what's just right around the corner. You have no idea, if someone had told me that was how it was going to be, I would not have believed them. And yet there I was.
Yeah. What do you love the most about being on Broadway? I know you never take anything for granted. I mean, just like it must be so cool to walk down the street, open that stage door, sign in, it was gone for almost 2.5 years. None of us knew what was going to happen. And that, Broadway is back with a vengeance. It's incredible what they're doing to keep it going and everything else with the understudies and standbys in these shows, specifically yours too. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing, right?
It's amazing. And it particularly with Into the Woods, like was so our understudies, who we affectionately refer to as our wonder studies, were integral to the rehearsal process. We needed them in the room to help us rehearse. So there were whole sections of days where they were with us so that we had the right number of roles present to help us, meet out all of the dots on the pages that darling Mr. Sondheim left us to sing and to do in time. They've been incredible. And in our company, all of our understudies, cover multiple roles. So they have a lot of work to do and maintain. And they cover leaves of absence. They cover, any kind of thing that comes up under the normal, universe of understudy work. And so everyone in our company, particularly our understudies, are very active. Yeah.
See, I love that. But like I said, just being back on Broadway again, what it means to you.
Yeah. It means welcome, open, run, jump, light, sun. Hello, hello, hello.
I love it. Finally, if you could sum up the best part of the experience with being back playing the witch in Into the Woods, what is it for you?
The best part is that it seemed to arrive exactly when it needed to. I turned a corner, and Into the Woods, this production done this way, and where I am in my career, in my life, in my desires as an artist, it met me right there. And I have more than enough to fill my hands and to fill my artist's heart. And I'm exhilarated. Yeah.
Well, it is terrific. Well, once again, for everybody watching, Montego Glover has joined the star-studded cast of Into the Woods as the witch on Tuesdays through Thursday night at the St. James Theater. Montego, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you, my love.
Well, thank you. The same, very same. Thank you for having me, Richie. Thank you.
Always, everybody stay safe, and we'll see you at the theater. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.